Hello, welcome to Aural Hygiene. It's where we talk about caught films, experimental films, other kinds of films. Hi, it's Matt here. Andrew is here today. Hello.
Hi.
Sup?
Hi, listeners.
Sup?
Yeah, what are you?
Yeah, we should do the whole podcast that way.
It would be called a podcast. Podcast.
Podcast. Popcast. That sounds like somebody's.
Podcast.
That sounds like somebody's
Yeah.
podcast. It's Popeye, 1980s Robert Altman film, notorious flop. I feel like I invited you for a reason, but I'm not quite sure why.
I'm a Popeye fan. I'm part of the very small cult of Popeye movie enjoyers.
I think this movie's turned a corner in reputation.
Ah,
I feel like people like it more now. I could be wrong, but
I don't know. I do know that some people claim to enjoy the music more than the film because they're like maybe Harry Nilsson heads. I don't know.
I'd go the other way around. I actually found myself not really digging most of the songs, and I figured out the reason. I figured out the reason.
Okay.
Henry Nilsson writes songs that Henry Nilsson needs to sing.
Harry Nilsson. Oh, yeah.
Like Randy Newman to a certain extent too, although obviously he later worked that out. But think of like, you got a friend of me. If he's not singing, it just didn't sound right.
Yeah, I mean, true, especially if you're familiar with that voice. I mean, they both have very distinctive vocals that the sound of their voice goes along well with their phrasing and all of that. And the keys they tend to write the songs in. Harry Nilsson did there's a great documentary about him, but also there's a child's animated film called The Point. And that's another that's full of Harry Nilsson music, but you've got Nilsson singing the songs that time. So maybe The Point might be, and it's got its own cult. We could at some point talk about The Point.
It's like doing the thing. Yeah, that drives me nuts. So no, I have like, I'm not like taking a poop on Henry Nilsson's head. I actually have like, not at this house, but these Japanese like vinyl like copy CD things, right? I have like 5 or 6 of his albums that way, like so sure. I'm not saying like he sucks or anything. I'm just saying I feel like maybe his songs don't work so well when he needs to have that sort of like, I've been hired by the CIA to walk into Laurel Canyon, like Southern California swarm to his voice.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. And a lot of people's issue with Popeye, one of the many reasons why people didn't seem to enjoy it, is because they did not enjoy the vocal stylings of one Shelley Duvall and one Robin Williams.
Now, hold on. One thing I did notice, I feel like, no. Robin Williams is only replaced at the beginning of the movie. Is that the original voice guy at the beginning doing Popeye?
Yes.
Okay, that's why he's there. So yeah, because Bluto does have a ringer doing the singing. So
yeah. Well, Paul L. Smith is. I mean, he may have been a football player or something like that.
Well, they hired him because he's large.
He's large.
Exactly.
Yes.
In what way is he large?
He's large. He takes large dumps.
Dump like a man.
Dump like a truck.
So this is not an enviable task on this one to do the short summary.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Take it on.
So Popeye is the live action musical version of the classic comic strip character and animated film character Popeye. Was that Max Fleischer?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this stars Robin Williams as Popeye, and Shelley Long as Olive Oil, Ray Walston as Poop Deck Pappy, and Paul L. Smith as Bluto. And yeah, this is notorious for being a huge bomb. And there's a reason why it even existed. Some people ask the question, why does this movie even exist? There is a very Hollywood reason why it exists.
Yeah, I'll get into that. By the way, there's 3 people screaming into their phone Shelley Duvall at the moment.
Oh, I love Shelley Duvall.
No, you said Shelley Long.
I did?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we've worked it out. I know you know who Shelley Duvall is. So
yeah, Shelley Duvall from Troop Beverly Hills and The Money Pit.
while she was you know, what's the word I wanted? Thrashing around in the water with the octopus. I was just wondering, I wonder which set was worse, this one or The Shining.
Well, the situation with the
I guess I guess
octopus
I guess they
Popeye,
gave you
they
more cocaine on this set, so maybe it was more fun.
sure. Well, I was thinking more of Ed Wood, like grab his arms, thrash around, look like he's killing you. I mean, they were so over budget that they had to start sending people in the crew home. And some of the first people to go were the people that operated the monster. So they built this really great looking thing, but in the end, it's poor Shelley Duvall that's having to puppeteer it because, you know, the effects crew had to go home.
Yeah, when we see a poop deck pappy ship in the water, I'm like, come on, half the budget went to getting this thing afloat and filming it. That's insane.
That was the times. That was 1980 for you.
Well, they say, I mean, movies often like just don't plan on filming on water. That's one of
Mhm.
the issues with Water World, right?
Sure. No, that's usually one of the, and those movies tend to be, yeah, a lot of ones that tend to be the big bombs are like pirate movies and stuff
I
like that.
I did read a book recently and about Hollywood's notorious flops. Of course, I had a chapter on this one, and I did name check it in an earlier Oral Hygiene, but now the name of the book and the writer are like escaping my mind. But yeah,
Fine. Yeah,
you saw the behind the scenes. You said so.
I
I
did.
I first saw this. Now this is a deep Dorville cut, right? But what was the video store before West Coast Video in the same location? It was bigger and better than West Coast
Yeah.
Video. Okay,
Uh,
anyway, this is like super old school, like mid 80s, like video VHS dream, right?
mhm.
And I do remember excitedly. I think I was excited because you could rent VHS where there'd be like you could watch like four cartoons in a row, like on your own whim, right? So I did that, and then oh, Popeye. And as a kid, I was like, I really like now watching, like, oh yeah, this is like the cartoon, like, or the comic strip, like perfectly brought to live action. But when I was
Yeah.
a kid, I couldn't make that connect. I think it might be the music, like same with Flash Gordon, because Flash Gordon looks exactly like the comic strip, but you had Queen, and it's like a kind of a disconnect.
Yeah.
I mean, that one, I love the soundtrack. I listened to that one on the train because most of it's just kind of trippy out, right? So,
Right.
and until you get to Flash, right, and that which
Yep.
happens at the beginning and the end. So,
That great intro. No, I found Popeye disturbing as a kid. I was not a fan of it. I did not like the way that they did Robin Williams and other people. The comic come to life in such a literal way where the
mhm.
people actually looked like the ones for yeah, that bothered me. Like I didn't think that was cool. And had Dick Tracy been out when I was younger, I would have not, I mean, that would have bothered me too. It's freaky when, do you ever see that like artists, some artists sculpted a Beavis and Butthead if there were to be actual flesh and blood
Oh yeah,
people?
I saw that. That's quite
It's
disturbing.
kind of the same thing. It's just whoa, horrifying all of a sudden. So
That's
I didn't like it.
that's not what bugged me as a kid, actually. Like I said, somehow maybe because of the music, I couldn't gel it. Like I was like, oh, it doesn't seem the same, even though it kind of is.
Mm.
I worked out the two things that got me is one. Now I'm like, oh my god, from a production standpoint, that's the coolest shot ever, where Bluto's pissed and sees them in all in red. Because when I was a
Yeah.
kid, I was like, oh, he just sent them all to hell, and it disturbed me.
Okay. If that would have like occurred to me, I would have. Yeah. Okay.
No, see, I'm like, I was like 6 or 7, and I'm like, oh yeah, when I saw that shot, I was like, he just sent them to hell, which isn't I don't think that's. I'm maybe the only person who ever saw it that way.
I know,
So
but see, I'm going to see it that way now for the ever. Every time I see it, I'm going to think that they're going to hell. That's
yeah.
great.
And the other thing, and the interesting, this bugged me when I was 6 or 7, but of course I couldn't put my finger on it, is that they just suddenly get saddled with the kid. There's some existential dread, life dread, right? Like they just met, and now they've already got a kid, which they're excited about, but like even now I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, that lets them be able to kind of dodge the whole like how are babies made?
Oh,
Sweet just shows
what's
up.
my yeah, what's my note on that? Where is I got a great note on that. They robbed the parents. Oh yeah, Popeye didn't even get his dick wet. Now he's a pappy. I
Yeah,
first heard
it's
that
weird.
term in Planet Terror. Is that where it comes from?
I it
I feel
can't. It
I
must
feel
be
like I
some.
never I feel like I never heard that expression before Planet Terror, and I haven't encountered it in anything before Planet Terror.
It has to be in some like Vietnam movie or some movie about the 50s. You know, it
Yeah.
just has that sound that kind of it just feels like it's
I mean, that's why
older.
it's in Planet Terror, I'm sure. But yeah. Okay, listeners, if you can cite me something where you hear that obscene expression before Planet Terror, please let me know.
Mhm.
um, yeah. So yeah, those were the things that disturbed me about it as a kid. Also, it disturbed me that it's kind of long and disjointed, even so, which is cool because it's like a bunch of Fleischer cartoons, like you said,
Mhm.
right? Now it's
Yeah.
cool, but when you're used to watching things with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you haven't seen a Robert Altman film before, and you're 7 years old, it's going to be a bit of a uphill climb.
Yeah, I love that it still manages a lot of the Altman isms, the overlapping dialogue and so a lot of the great wide shots and character shots. Just the overall look of it, I still feel has the look of an Altman movie. It's he in the 70s, he just had a string of really great ones, and this pretty much still feels very 70. I mean, 1980 was basically 1970s still.
Yeah. So this film, you could fill in some gaps from what I basically muster is they went to Malta to basically stay away from the studio and were followed in their airplane by an airplane full of cocaine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the cocaine's the unsung hero of filmmaking in that era,
And then Robin Williams in 1980 or 79. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't known as a film actor then. He was from TV, hit TV show, and so and of course Duvall had worked with Altman before on Nashville and Three Women, and she was a minor character in something else if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but uh, yeah, there was they actually wanted Gilda Radner.
I could see that too. I mean, I think Duvall was a perfect fit here.
She
She says
looks
you
already
can't look.
looks like all.
I was about to say you can't look more olive oil than that. Gilda Radner
No.
would have brought too much like Shelley Duvall. I don't know about the actress herself, but she just comes across as like hopelessly naive, right? Which is what olive oil is. Where Gilda Radner comes across as like you see a little more intellect running the show, even when she's playing the kids on Saturday Night Live or something.
Yeah, it's there's a little bit more going on behind what's going on
That's
with
one of the reasons
Radner's
it's Shining so effective, and then Kubrick used like exploited that in the worst way possible with the actual person. But
I know, what a horrible story. I would have rather Robin Williams played Jack Torrance. I've always thought that. I think he was not in Kubrick's consideration ever, but I think he was
he
in
wouldn't
the
have been in
beginning.
1980. I mean, now
No.
you're like, I mean, maybe I talked with you or with other people just how it was us talking about how the comic actors can just have more menace.
They're the
But
dark people, man, and Robin Williams certainly had his share, but yeah, maybe not then, but with enough cocaine, who knows?
yeah, although Jack Nicholson, I mean, he's right on the thin line between dramatic and comic actor. He does both quite well. So
Yeah,
of course, that's
true.
why he's still quite effective in the Shining. But yeah, he never did stand up comedy though, or a sitcom. So there's that.
No, but Nicholson, I mean, he's the guy that's supposed to slowly go insane, but he's Jack. So
Yeah, he's insane. That's why I kind of like the movie because he's never okay. I mean,
mm,
he's crazy from the start. I mean, I guess Robin Williams would have been too, but
yeah, yeah,
would you
probably.
say 1 hour photo would be basically Robin Williams doing his Shining? It's a little bit of a different vibe, but
Yeah, but that's got that same kind of character arc to it.
right.
The one you wouldn't think flips out and kills, flips out and kills.
Oh, and like 1 hour photo, blonded Williams kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, you asked about his arms as Popeye in the notes. It was one of the things that really disturbed me about the movie. Um, that's all prosthetic, but they couldn't get it right, and so that's why he appears in so many coats initially. It's because they couldn't, arms weren't ready.
That's fine. Yeah. Of course you can tell they're like normal thin line in the coats, but what can you do?
Yeah, no,
um
he didn't have them yet.
okay, this movie never quite makes the decision. What's your Popeye? Is it navy blue and red or sailor white?
gosh. Well, I was familiar with Popeye as a black and white cartoon. So I would go with the Navy.
Yeah, yeah, same here. I just say because I think they went to Sailor White in the 40s to make as a war effort sort of thing,
Yeah,
like make them look like our sailors a little more, right? But yeah, I
that
definitely
makes
prefer
sense.
his because in the original comic strip, what's the name? Do you remember the name of the original comic strip? It's completely
Popeye the
different.
Sailor.
Hmm?
No, I thought it was Popeye the Sailor.
No. The original comic strip is a very different title
Was
because
that?
Popeye, the comic strip went on for like a really long time before Popeye even shows up.
I don't know a lot about it. I do know that however he looks on the can of spinach is what Popeye should look like.
Oh, in the poster they put Sailor White Popeye. Huh, interesting. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
The 30th or 40th anniversary, something like that, came around a couple of years ago, and they released this Blu-ray. It was like the anniversary edition. There's basically nothing on it. Like it's just a step above the DVD that has been out, and it covered terrible with that can. I mean, I still don't think I like the idea that people have come around to this movie, but I don't think the studio as a Paramount, I don't think they want to sink that much into doing a
oh,
restoration.
here we go. Thimble Theater was in its 10th year when Popeye made his debut in January 1929, and
Oh,
the cartoon started like shortly after that. But yeah,
okay.
that's the thing with it was like Bluto was there, Olive Oil was there, Wimpy
Mhm.
was there. All these characters had been there for years, and then Popeye showed up, and like within a few weeks, he was like it was his comic strip. So
Just
that's
walk
that's
right in and take it over, Popeye.
that's kind of how this movie meta does it because clearly this town has been rolling like this for a really long time when Popeye shows up. So I actually like when you know more about the comic strip, now the movie's choices make a lot more sense as well.
I mean, it would be nice just to watch it and be able to enjoy it, not have to know all those things. I do enjoy the story as it is. Some people say it has no story, but it actually does have a story with all the city is the town rather that he ends up in, has got a real problem with being overtaxed. The guy taxes people for picking their nose and pretty much everything. The Commodore.
Right. Oh, I was just letting you go because it was kind of like a good plot description.
Oh, okay. I think I missed that earlier, but yeah, that's kind of the plot. And so Popeye obviously doesn't dig that, and so he becomes kind of the hero of the people.
But at the same time, he's on a search for his father, which is the other, the B plot sort of, or the A plot. I kind of felt that's the A plot, and the taxing was the B plot.
Yeah, no, it is true, he's looking for his pappy.
That's where it is Altman-y, though. There is it's a little, what's the main story, what's the next story,
Mhm.
like life, man. They're
Yeah,
kind of like mixed up and entangled, right?
he wants to keep things in motion, and that's one of Altman's gifts.
When it happened in Nashville, people loved it. When it happens in Popeye and people have weird prosthetic arms, people are not so into it.
So for some reason, it's the arm they can't get past. But is I love it now. I do love the music, and some of the songs really make me cry. I listen to the soundtrack more often than I watch the movie, but I think because the movie is kind of so long, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, this is what I said I was about to start talking to you before we started recording. It's like I should say in the podcast. It's been a busy week. My daughter's like graduated from elementary school, so I sort of had to cram the film in. So I
uh-huh.
put it at like 2.5 speed. It's much better at 2.5 speed because now it seems like a manic cartoon.
How are those big fight scenes though, and all those acrobats and stuff, and all those?
It's like a Fleischer cartoon even
Okay,
more. So I actually weirdly recommend speeding this one up a touch. It
huh?
like because I was like this really seems right, and I slowed it back down. I was like now it seems like it's dragging. So it picks up
Oh,
more of the
sure,
manic energy of the cartoons when you speed it up a bit.
yeah. Over
So
cranked camera or whatever. Well, I might do that. So are you hearing the sound? I mean, how
yeah,
how
yeah,
much
yeah.
more difficult was it
Just
to
to
understand Popeye?
well, you can't understand them anyway. I did turn on the subtitles, but yeah, I had the sound on. You could still understand them. I mean, you can never understand Popeye, so it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, no, that was kind of the intent. I thought Robin Williams totally nailed that. He was a good choice. I think. You know, as far as the scene goes, I mean, they did everything at Malta. They, including recording the soundtrack. I mean, Nilsson was there. You know, they had some bad weather, and so he had a lot of extra time to work on it. And you know, Robin Williams had to learn to do everything. I mean, he had to have fight training. He was so green when he started with Popeye, and so obviously singing wasn't a thing at all. And so you know, they pretty much they learned, and for better or worse, I just feel like the off key kind of nature of what they're doing, the kind of not super polished. I mean, it goes along with the way that the city looks. Popeye
Oh yeah.
Village. I mean, they literally had to come to the people that were building it and take their rulers and everything away and go like, no, this thing has to look wacky, man. It's a cartoon village. This is not, you know, you building a bunch of houses and stuff. So
Oh, I mean,
I
we
think the
should
music
point
goes
out
along.
it's still there. Yeah, people go there and have like
Oh, I
weddings. They have
know.
Popeye weddings and stuff.
God, I am now I'm a fan of Popeye, but I am obsessed with Popeye Village. I mean, I've read so many articles, watched so many videos. I mean, the fact that that's still there. I'm obsessed with really any like existing props, big props that were just left where the movie was made. Like that's a minor obsession of mine too. But Malta, I would actually, I've never been that interested in travel, but if I had a destination, I probably would go want to go to Popeye Village in Malta. I really
Yeah, yeah.
would.
There's other cool stuff in Malta too, by the
It
way.
would
But
freak me out to see it.
yeah, yeah. And they get married there. No, I just think it's funny at the people at Popeye themed weddings. Like my dad's pretty obsessed with Popeye. He's in the Navy, right? You know, village people style, all that.
Right
I do
on.
remember junior high school, we had a trip to New York City, and in the like Times Square FAO Schwartz, they had the navy blue Popeye figure. So I was like, oh, that's a souvenir. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I brought him back from New York City. Nothing
Cool.
specifically New York.
Yeah. No, I mean I mean, tell me the last time you were at an FAO Schwartz, you know. So
I'll tell you the last time as a Toys R Us, like a couple weeks ago. Still
yeah,
have
that's
them.
been
Still, no, I
yeah.
know they still have them here. Yeah, actually, I didn't go in, but I drove past when it was open. So,
Yep. And the toy aisles in the department stores are just really sorry most of the year.
mm. Oh yeah. There's no tour emporium for people anymore in the states. It's too bad. Okay.
No, it's just, and I think it shows
Mm.
that we don't have them.
One, this I don't know if you know the answer to this, but it really you saw in my notes and it came to my mind when I saw Pappy's ship is that needs to be a Lego set.
Oh yeah.
One of
No,
those I got one of the like Big Bang Theory living room. They make stuff like that. So
no, no, the movie doesn't it yeah, it just doesn't have the fandom around it and the respect around it as a movie. You know, they really badly wanted to make Annie, wasn't it? That's the story. Um
something like that. What year did Annie actually come out? Was that 82? A couple years later?
yeah, but there was kind of a bidding war between the studios of who was going to be making Annie, and Robert Evans over there at Paramount did not win the rights, and he was super mad. And so they would literally started going through the everything that would be remotely like Annie that they had the rights to, and that's where they landed on Popeye.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Robert Evans. He was on this. Was he on? That's like one of the biggest Hollywood roller coaster guys.
Yeah,
Where was he at this point in time?
I mean, he was on top, man. I mean, he was
Okay.
big shot, right?
Yeah, because he also I know had some extremely screwed up periods.
He did, but I mean, he was riding high off of Godfather, you know, things like that. Rosemary's Baby. I mean, he was
Yeah.
the man
This
coming out.
actually this I guess this movie's kind of what kicked him in the nuts a bit.
I mean, it's not one that, yeah. I mean, but I feel like the reasons behind doing it were just kind of spiteful, and that is not a good like karma to start off a production with, you know.
Yeah, really.
So I feel like it just was doomed a bit, unfortunately.
But with that in mind, what came out was pretty good. Like I said, especially once I watched the second. I watched the first half and probably a little more in the first half at normal speed. And then I was like, oh crap, I need a compressed time. And I was like, this is a little, just like I said, it's like it's actually better.
Yeah, I like how Altman populated it with interesting people. Like I
Yeah.
think everyone on screen that's not one of the principal actors is some sort of like juggler or contortionist or acrobat, somebody that does something interesting or some interesting with their bodies.
Yeah. Oh, just to let people know, I was using. I don't think you can do it on your Windows media player because I was watching on my computer. VLC media player will allow you to speed and slow down your files. So,
Okay.
and I do it on YouTube also. I just said a few weeks ago, like I had to do the same thing with Caligari, and I was like, if you've seen that, especially the subtitles, the intertitles are just
So
ridiculously slow.
yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
I was watching the Kino one, so it was at the correct frame rate. So when you speed it up, it just looks like what you think a silent movie looks like anyway. And
Mhm.
you're not waiting so long for all those. Because yeah, Mark was like, why are these titles still on the screen? Because he was watching at normal speed.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I have VLC, but I hardly ever use it. It's good to know that that would do it because that's why I asked how are you able to hear the sound because anything I think of that could play it at double speed or whatever is not going to give you the audio.
No, it had the sound, and you could turn on the subtitles as well. But like I said, except for Popeye and Pluto, you could actually still understand everyone. So, oh, and Ray Walston, I forgot he was in this movie. You can't understand him either. Although those are like your three main characters you can't understand, but maybe that's one of the. I mean, you can't in the cartoon either, so whatever.
No, I liked it. I mean, it's those little kind of touches. I mean, I would consider myself a fan of Robert Altman. I mean, there's periods of Altman where I kind of dip out, but definitely around this time, that whole decade, most of the films I love by him come out of this period, and that includes Popeye for me.
Yeah, yeah. I had something. That's a great thing about doing a Popeye podcast. When you realize you forgot what you're going to say, you can just start doing that.
Yeah, the muttering makes me laugh. I mean, that's probably one of my top 5 favorite things about Popeye is just the muttering. It's just funny to me.
Oh, you might have seen this in my notes too, but and I have to specify 70s version, but the movie kind of does a similar thing to this that I do like the music for is that the 70s Wicker Man.
Mm-hmm.
Those songs are cool. I mean,
Yeah, no,
again, these aren't the worst, but they're not what except Olive Oil songs a bit of a standard, I guess now, but the rest of them are kind of take it or leave it. He Needs Me. I feel like
he
that's
needs
actually
me.
become a standard of some kind. People cover it
It's
and stuff.
God, it's beautiful. That's one of the ones that really kind of gets to me.
Yeah.
Definitely when Popeye um has that picture of his father there and he kind of puts it up when he gets his room. That's like the
Mm.
last thing he looks at. I'm like,
Oh, I just thought the picture was hysterical, so I was
I mean,
laughing at it.
it is, but I was touched by a tender moment. Oh, but Bluto fighting the octopus. Yeah, I remember that disturbed the crap out of me as a kid. I was just like, God, this is like, I could, in a cartoon, who would care? But when it's live action, you go, like, that's right. That's something not right. Something akin to Uncanny Valley, I think, was happening with me.
Oh well, yeah. When Olive Oil is like, oh, getting fresh with me, I'm like, whoa, that's a whole fetish there.
Oh, tentacle. I never even thought of that. You're really kind of messing certain aspects of this movie up for me.
Sorry.
First they go to hell and then they go to hentai or whatever.
Yeah. My note here is this climax is basically the Goonies on LSD. Though my note after is I bet cast members of the Goonies were more likely on LSD, but
We know one for sure.
yeah, but it definitely. I mean, I know Goonies is a few years later and whatever, but yeah, it just made me think of that a bit. I guess because they're in the like Stone Grotto where they clearly are spent too much money of their budget.
Yeah, and there was a whole monster that that doesn't get shown. I didn't see the Goonies till last summer of 2022, 2021. I'd never seen it. But I remember at the end being very confused because one of the kids is going like the octopus was really scary. And I'm like, what octopus? And now he's just lying. I mean, why would he? That was needless for him to say that. and
No,
and
now
then
he's on LSD.
right, but then I get home and I like realized that yeah, there was actually an octopus special effect made, and I was like, that would have freaked me out. But yeah,
we
there.
we
Then again, you have water, the pirate ship.
we also watched that last summer because, like I said, my daughter was like, I want to see some scary movies, and at first we were trying to keep it reasonable, so we put on like the Goonies and the Adams Family movies, and that's when we by fall I was like fucking when we put on The Shining and Alien.
Yeah, yeah. I think you told me that story.
Yeah,
You
I've
ask me
said that
next
several
time. I
times. Just
I know all the kid friendly horror.
yeah.
There's a lot more of it was made in the last 10 years.
Well, no, the thing is, she really did want legit horror. I mean, like you and I did when we were 12, right?
Oh yeah, it was like Disney's Haunted Mansion. Great, because I mean, it has zombies in it. You know,
No, I think she wanted the level of horror we did when we were 12. So
have fun with that. Oh God,
like okay,
I was
Alien.
yeah. God, the list of what I should not have been watching is just longer than one could go into.
What did I? Oh, the only one I did I just edited the naked lady in the bathtub, and I think I just said like, hey, what's that for the famous furry shot, like to the wall over there. Hey, what's that?
Oh
Just look away for a moment.
yeah.
That's not look at the furry shot.
Well, poor what was it? Scatman Crothers. He travels the whole movie to help the white people, and then as soon as he gets there,
Well,
he just
again, I've said on podcasts before, but that's actually I think that's now one of my favorite film viewing experiences ever because when we watched in the fall, when he eats it eats the axe, my wife screamed in terror, and then Hannah started laughing. She thought it was funnier than hell. That again, he just went on this giant voyage to save them and instantly gets
right. I mean, it's
axed in the
darkly
back.
humorous. That
Yeah.
maybe that was why it was done. Who knows? But that's
I
always what I when I see Shining, I'm like, Mr. Halloran, please just don't.
just this time, just hang out with your naked lady posters in your nice Florida home and
So great, right?
but yeah. So that again, I feel like people are I don't know why. Just so I guess this has some modern sensibilities, though it doesn't quite have all the modern, like FX tricks, but it's
No,
like I mean, it wasn't until probably the Avengers that anyone really was like, "Hey, let's actually make the movie look like the comic book," right?
no, it's
But this
true.
this did
That's
it 30 years earlier.
that's a good point because that again, Dick Tracy was one of the times where they tried to do that. We didn't really have a magic formula for comic based movies because the effects capabilities weren't there yet. And so that's why a lot of times things were like redesigned completely. I will not get into Masters of the Universe, but that was a huge disappointment for me as a kid. I'm like, why couldn't you just you could make a toy look like this? Why can't you just make it bigger and stick it on a guy? But but I think there was this general feeling of we're movies, so we're better. These
Yeah.
can't look like a comic because that's some lower form of art. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It wasn't really until Marvel that there became, and of course now it's like this. There's a rule book to it, but it was neat to see. I mean, go back through history. I would love to see a documentary and just like the old attempts at making comic book movies because I feel like you and I were there for a lot of them. Like we really did sort of like seek that out.
Yeah. Um, I don't know how much you've seen of these. You've probably seen a little bit. Those 40s like Captain Marvel and there's two Batman serials, and
Yeah.
I think there's a Superman. No, Captain Marvel is the Superman one. It's
Yes,
like those actually seem to try harder to
they
do
do.
like the comic book, even though they had like nothing, no
Which makes
effects.
sense because it's all laid out for you. So you can see how much like really like ego was involved. Like, I don't want to be replicating someone else's character design. I gotta make it my own. Like,
70s Shazam seemed to do it interestingly. That's a fascinating one. The TV show.
yeah. And Wonder Woman looked pretty good. Their attempt at doing the invisible jet, I felt like was very earnest. Yeah, it wasn't until like the Hulk where he started just coming in like, oh, let's change his name first of all. Why?
Because Bruce is a girly name.
It's almost like it lets them escape from the trappings of the canon. It's like, okay, now we change his name. This isn't the old one. We can just make whatever cheapo stories we want, so we don't have to worry about including any of those characters.
That's why
Meanwhile, now,
that's why the X-Men franchise is interesting, because it starts off with like all the, black spandex or black leather, excuse me, that has nothing to do with the comic book. Though the year the movie came out, they did briefly change the comic book to similar uniforms, but um but as the franchise goes on, they get more into the what you would actually expect an X-Men to be wearing.
I know. And if you've seen the Doctor Strange trailer, Professor X is in it. Oh,
You
can't wait.
spoiled me, but I guess that's fine. I feel like I
Well,
even saw the
you just
trailer.
you hear his voice for like a moment, but of course, I go and look up his Patrick Stewart in it.
Oh, it was a Patrick Stewart. Okay, I was about to ask which Professor X are we talking about here.
It's Pea Stew, man.
I assume are you cranking through the Picard?
Not really. I mean, I watched the first. I just can't keep the amount of Trek that's out there now is just way too much for me.
That's pretty much all I watch. I will give that season. I like season one, okay, but season two is like a lot better so far.
Well, I'll give you the Facebook group invite from my friend Adam, who started a Trek. He's got a Trek podcast, so he started his Facebook group to go with it. I was like, why are you inviting me to this, dude? Like, I I enjoy it, but you know what I mean? I can't have the conversation about it.
No, see, I was stressed. That's the thing. I told you I had to watch Popeye in a pinch, but I still had to watch a new Picard last night. I couldn't wait for Discovery till tonight. So
Right.
even though
No, I
that's the
get it, dude.
finale, right? And I'm like, no, I want to see the Picard first. So yeah.
I get it. And I really love the excitement that everyone still has for that.
Yeah. So that's I guess my jam. But yeah. Anyway, I feel like this and Flash Gordon have aged well, like a wine, or a
Mhm.
guitar, right? You get a new guitar, it's made out of, it sometimes is a little tinny. Give it 20 years and it sounds fantastic. They
Yeah,
say
yeah, but
they,
unlike um
they
the
say a
the
Les Paul never sounds the day a Les Paul sounds best is the day you're playing it.
no, don't I know? I I feel yeah, but by comparison, Flash Gordon has gotten like a great Blu-ray treatment and 4K and all that stuff, and the soundtrack. Meanwhile, Popeye just they won't. And maybe it's the studio. Maybe there's a boutique label that's like dying to do a real good anniversary edition of Popeye, but God, they might as well wait till the 50th now.
I've talked about a few times how you really couldn't make Flash Gordon now very easily. Could you make another Popeye without too much trouble? Is there too much here that doesn't sit well these days?
I just don't. I don't know.
There's
It
no Ming the Merciless, so they can at least stay away from that.
yeah. It Oh God. Ooh, how progressive. I I I don't know. Um it'd be almost like if they tried doing Betty Boop now, which is way more racist. Um they would the idea of having the big head, I just think people would, you know what I mean? Like it's amazing that they accepted Sonic Hedgehog because they seem poised to like hate it. But that movie is great.
I didn't. I just learned like 2 days ago that the second one's about to come out. That blew
Mhm.
my mind.
Yeah.
And that there's a new Red Hot Chili Peppers album. Both those things I didn't know till like yesterday. Although I
Oh
did
yeah.
hear that I saw their new video, so I guess it wasn't too surprising. But I just assumed they did one song just to prove yes, we have our old guitarists back.
Well, there's two out now. There's two singles out now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, talking about things that started about 1980.
Mhm. Yeah, there you go. Way to bring it around.
Radio. Sorry, just trying to tie in the tangents a bit.
That's great. You did great.
Okay, I guess that's a good. Oh, I forgot my. Well, I guess I don't need to do that with you, but I'm trying to pick up the new habit of asking people to give their deets at the beginning and the end. But you can do that now.
I'll just go ahead and do it now. Thank you everyone for listening. Pleasure to speak about Popeye. Always love having a conversation about cult movies. And here in Athens, Georgia, my friends and I make our own cult movies, and our name is Gonzorific, GONZORIFFIC. And you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and gonzorific.com. You can buy physical copies of our movies. And we will be appearing at Oconee County's Fan Fest event on April the 2nd. We'll have a booth there along with other artists and DIY folks from Athens, Georgia and surrounding counties. And we will be having a screening of Gone Terrific movies. And I have to somehow put together a program because it's a public library of family-friendly, non-offensive material. So that is what I'm currently trying to figure out. And our next movie coming out is called Jigsaw. You'll know the cover when you see it. And so that's all kind of in the works right now.
Let's see. Bad news. You already had it. It's April 9th now. Oh, well. Today is April 9th.
Oh, that's fine.
So how was the festival? What movies did you show?
Man. Yeah, it was wonderful. I just showed Got the Time, Day the Earth Went Bald.
Right. Okay. Those are the only family. Even those aren't quite family friendly, though, are they?
No, I mean, these kids are sticking guns in their faces.
Speaking of those 12-year-olds watching movies they shouldn't be watching.
God, we're making our own as well. And I mean, at least we were inside.
No, you weren't always inside. We were throwing dummies of myself off of the balconies.
True. We were
hanging out in the shed way in back that probably wasn't particularly, probably had some tetanus possibilities.
Yeah, I was gonna say haunted, but definitely tetanus.
Yeah. This is Aural Hygiene. It's Aural Hygiene Pod at Twitter, on Facebook. I don't know what that damn TikTok is. We are under the Patreon umbrella of Podcastius, where you will also find things like Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary, where we talk about sci-fi films, Time Enough Podcast, where we talk about the Twilight Zone, and you can hear some video game stuff. Luke loves Pokemon. You can guess what that's about. There's now the Game Show, which is a game show about games.
Oh.
So they ran out of Monster Hunter, so they had to come up with a new concept. So they have to wait for the next Monster Hunter game to come out, apparently. So
it's the game. Do what you got to do, right?
The game show for now. So. So what I was thinking. Podcast.